Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Back in Their Day, the show that delves into the past and finds things. Finds the things that are hiding there, and pulls them out, waves them around like a flag, and then places them gently back on the ground, hoping for minimal spinal damage. I'm the Fox.
Name's Cordo.
Santi.
I'm Kevin.
So today we're going to discuss the episode of That 70s Show, Sunday, Bloody Sunday. And quite bloody it was. Quite bloody indeed. Not only do we have to deal with the Elder Foreman, but we also have to deal with discovering who this group's Tarantino really is. I mean, it may have been obvious before.
Alright, we open up the episode with the gang in the driveway. They're playing horse, which we actually don't find out until Fez starts calling Kelso a whore. Spelled H-O-R, I'd assume.
Make that shot, whore.
Jackie says she's heading home because she has to go do homework, which of course Eric starts giving her crap for some reason. Kelso asks her not to leave because Steve Martin's going to be hosting Saturday Night Live. Basically, Saturday Night Live is a sketch show that is somehow still running today. I don't get it. It is not funny and has not been funny for many a moon. Bill Hader left and then it all just went to heck. In the early years, fake commercials were used as a comedic device. There are many classic ones like the Bassomatic and Shimmer Floor Wax. It's a legendary show despite its mediocrity now. And it broke talent such as Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, Jan Hooks, Kate McKinnon, Eddie Murphy, Phil Hartman. Pretty much anybody who made an impact in the 80s and 90s as a comedian came from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Saturday Night Live was interesting. It still continues to be. And it does produce a lot of really good comics. Farley and Sandler both got their starts way back when, too, from that show. And it's cool. It is kind of neat to see them just, like, get fresh talents and have them thrown around skit to skit working with professionals. It's a really good way for them to get their hands-on experience. I like it.
And another quick thing related to what Kelso actually said, Steve Martin is actually the first time ever five-timer on this show in its history. There's a few now, but he was the very first one.
Unfortunately, because it's Jackie, she hates the show. Only because she can't buy any of the products on the fake commercials. And it kind of pisses her off.
I don't know, man. Sometimes when I watch shows that are really old and I see things that I want, or you know, when you get the old comic books and you get the X-ray goggles, didn't you just really want them to work?
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally understand not being able to get what you want from it.
I honestly don't see the difference whether it works or not, because you know when you see that stuff in there, there's about a 75% chance it's not going to do what it said. If it says that scene on TV, you're getting what you paid for. There's a reason why it's only $15.
You know what else is seen on TV? Actors.
And they're fake too.
Of course, this compels Hyde to actually turn to Kelso and is like, dude, what the heck? Starts giving Kelso crap and saying, dude, you need to do something about this. And he's like, then turn to Kelso goes, dude, don't worry. I'm breaking up with her. Which at this point, it's been like, how many weeks now?
That's his story, man. I'm breaking up with
Like
Jackie.
Kelso's been, yeah. Kelso's Kelso. After being told this, Kelso...
Picasso? Is that like the great artist Picasso?
Kelso.
Kelso states that he's simply picking his moment.
His masterpiece would be called Tater Nuts.
After this, Eric turns around and starts looking for Fez, asking where Fez went. Which, in this part, that's where, you know, we see Fez in the background shooting his shot, saying, make that shot, whore.
From the neighbor's yard, no less.
Yeah.
So, you know, why is Fez never pursuing sports? I guess the mean jocks, you know, that is his first interaction with the crew was after he got bullied by said jocks. So I guess that makes sense. He wouldn't really be into sports, but he's good at them. Sort of like Abed from Community. He's not in them, but he's great at them.
Mm-hmm. And Fez has always been a spot-on dancer, too. You can see it throughout the whole thing. The actual actor, Wilmer Valderrama, he's actually a dancer.
Yeah.
Which is why you see that pop up so much in this, or up to now in future episodes. He's just very fluid moving.
Flawless.
After all this, we cut back to the foreman's kitchen, where they're having breakfast, and Kitty is just floating along, just da-da-da-da-da, just very, very floaty, very Disney princess-ish. And Eric looks at her, and obviously something's off there, and he's thinking, and he says, what happened? Did you quit smoking again? So you're floating around here like Snow White.
Snow White.
Now, Snow White, I didn't know it was this old. Like, I remember growing up on it, and that was like in the 80s when I first started seeing it. But it was actually made in 1937.
Yeah.
The animation is so awesome it's better than a lot of cartoons I've seen put out, period.
Yeah. It is.
And it's that old.
Yeah. I wanted to say 33, so I was off just a little bit, but I knew it came out in the 30s. It's a very old flick.
Definitely. Not only was it the first Disney animated feature, but it was the first feature-length animated anything.
Yeah.
And it actually, on a, $1.5 million budget, it grossed $8 million. And that's back in 1937.
Yeah.
37.
That is an incredible.
That's insane.
That's how you know Disney knew what he was doing.
Right. Red cuts her off, saying that he wants her to quit. Kitty replies that she should have taken care of that a long time ago. It is then that the phone rings, hailing the arrival of Grandma. Dun dun. Dun, dun. They should have all done the classic Hitchcock turn that they do in the Halloween episode coming up. I can't wait to talk about that one. Said arrival immediately puts Kitty's accomplishments in grave peril. Red's dumb brother broke his foot and can't take her this week. Do we ever see Red's brother?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Later on. I remember now, over the train set. Siblings. Well, the presence of Grandma Forman causes some stress for Kitty and Red, so Eric volunteers to go ahead and keep her distracted for the week.
Cut to the outside of Grandma's house where the family's picking her up. After closing the door for Grandma, she immediately shrieks unnecessarily because as Eric closes the door, you'd think he's chopped her leg off or something. Or maybe lopped off or knocked her elbow. But no, just caught her dress. This is how you know it's going to go off on the wrong foot with Grandma. She starts making fun of everything, including the car, saying that Red's brother makes way more money than her and that the car is way nicer, that he's a Lincoln. It's basically insinuating that he has an American car over a foreign one. She talks about Kitty quitting smoking, which I'm guessing she heard about from Red. And she says, "Oh, well, good for you," before immediately blowing smoke in Kitty's face. There's funny stuff in this throughout this episode because you see a lot of references to Kitty just watching her smoke, and she's just like practically drooling on camera. Like this, there's the scene when she's smoking that one cigarette, she's belting through it. Kitty's just like.
It's just melting away.
It's like
It
full
is-
on inhale.
Yeah, that's what you imagine people saying when I smoked it in one drag. Is just sitting there, just hanging on for dear life.
If I remember right, though, Kitty was, or not Kitty, but Deborah Jo Rupp was actually quitting smoking during this period. So a lot of that was authentic.
Ooh.
There's a lot of the volatility.
If I remember, I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know at some point she was trying to quit smoking with the support of the cast members.
So we finally get to the church, where at this point, everybody's praying. Kitty is praying to God, basically to help her quit smoking, because she's dying for a cigarette. And anybody that knows nicotine, it's addicting.
It's a beast.
Meanwhile, Eric is praying that for Grandma to either go home or the school to burn down, so that way he can finish writing his paper, which he left to his friends to write for him, which, by the way, I will never, ever let you guys submit an essay for me, knowing you jerks.
No. I would get you a better grade than you would.
Besides, we don't know your essays.
That's true.
Once in high school, I got friggin' paid. I was getting paid like $25 in a paper for this kid in my class to write his papers, and there was two of them where he gave me $20 extra because I got a better grade for him than I got for me.
I score.
Remember, in English, I was actually the one that everybody wanted to team up with for group projects, and the one that people cheated off of.
Of course. Of fucking course.
Because I was pulling no less than a 95% English. Couldn't understand it, but like if I looked at it, my brain just said, "Okay, this is wrong," and people just went with it.
So, hey, Kevin, did you bring your notes today?
Meanwhile, I was in remedial math.
So was I took math A and B.
And now we get to Red. who's just praying for the Packers to win one season. And that his family is okay, and etc.
All right, so we cut to the basement with everybody sitting around the TV, and Fez is sitting right next to it. They're leaning forward. Change it. Fez would change the channel. Change it. Donna looks over and says, how do we change channels before Fez?
Hey, Santi, go change the channel.
Dang it.
You ain't gotta get up anymore. There's an app for that. I use that one for my TV.
Donna asks about Grandma, and Eric says that she's in the bathroom, so they've got about half hour or so.
The clock is ticking.
And this gives him time to start writing his paper on the 3 branches of government, which are the legislative, which is made of Congress and the House of Representatives. And it is their job. I know I'm looking down at this, but
That's fine.
It's
no, this is factual. You go ahead.
Yeah,
'cause I didn't take time.
See,
to
if I'm looking down, we're presenting facts.
That's how we do it.
we embellish any other time.
I'm glad I'm not reading it.
But it's made up of Congress and the House of Representatives, whose job it is to draft and vote through potential laws before sending them to the president for approval. They write and enact laws, taxes, authorizes borrowing, and sets the budget. Not well, they just do it. Can declare war, ratify treaties, and confirm potential appointees nominated by the president. The House can impeach and Congress can remove officials. That would be a fun job. You're fired. Now I know why Donald Trump enjoyed it so much.
For years. All he did was say those words.
They can veto a presidential veto and appointments approved by president with enough vetoes.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Everyone's like, oh, well, the president could just veto that. I'm like, well, this veto can be vetoed. It's this huge circle of confusing nonsense. The next one is the executive branch, which is the office of the president. It commands the military and all of its factions, all of the king's men. They can make treaties and appointments for positions, as well as write executive orders. They're able to veto laws set by Congress if they choose. Vice President runs the Senate. He enacts war once declared by Congress. Can also appoint federal judges. And we love federal judges, don't we? Ambassadors and other offices are appointed by them as well. And they can also grant pardons and enforce the law.
Then finally, we have the judicial branch.
And finally, we have the judicial branch of the government. The judicial branch is very important.
We have the judicial branch of the government.
We are the dudes.
And this is the chill part of the government. No, it's not. It's the courts that sucks. This is the judicial branch.
Gnarly.
The judicial branch is made up of the Supreme Court, which is basically empowered to hear cases and controversies proven too big for smaller courts. They decide which laws apply to what situations and determines unconstitutionality in case of any laws and interprets the lower laws in federal disputes. Also, it polices its own members, so basically busts down on its own judges.
Did you just have a BM over there, bro?
About to.
Brain meltdown, dude.
Give him a 10-mile
That's too much for one foreigner to handle. So Donna tries to get Eric to not do his homework, in which, Eric's just saying he wants to try to keep the peace. In which our great favorite a-hole Hyde chimes in and says, you know what, that's never gonna happen. Then you're dreaming of a family that's just too hallmarky. It's not it. At which point Red comes down and tells Eric, Eric, what are you doing down here? Your grandma, you can't just leave your grandma all by herself. She could die.
She could be eaten by wolves.
She could get run over by a reindeer.
She went on some vision quest in the desert or something. Where'd Grandma go? I don't know. I saw her naked walking off the driveway about 30 minutes ago and nobody knows what happened. Just, you know how Grandma is.
You saw your grandmother walking down the driveway naked and you didn't stop her?
She's an ornery old broad.
Right? I don't want to fist fight my grandma while she's got clothes on. Nobody wants to fist fight my grandma while she's naked.
Red tells Eric that the whole bathroom thing was a false alarm, and Eric then proceeds to go upstairs. Jackie then says this is why she does her homework on time. Like every good student does. But who cares?
Honestly, it's really weird to me too. Why is Jackie the good student? Jackie, out of all of them, I expect Eric to be the good student, which is why Eric never lies, if you remember last time.
P.S. He totally did.
This causes Hyde to prodded Kelso to pull the trigger on the breakup. And just as Kelso is about to do it, Donna immediately steps in and stops him right in the middle. Halt! Don't do it.
You shall not pass!
It wasn't so much halt as she grabbed his hand and brought him to one knee with a freaking weird finger wrench thing, majiggy. Said, do not break up with Jackie. Do you hear me? Do not yet.
She then tells Jackie to go get her paper from her house, being that she did the paper before, and so that way they could copy it, and they could save the day and be Eric's hero.
Everybody wins when you have the old paper.
Which makes no sense because she's actually younger than the gang, while kind of threatening Kelso, as Cord probably said, not to break up with her. After Kelso leaves with Jackie to go get the paper, Hyde all of a sudden automatically just starts getting into a conspiracy hype, saying that the real government is military, corporate, and Hollywood.
Which honestly makes way more sense than we're willing to admit.
Yeah, straight up. Watch the news. Tell me what's ruling the world.
Donna notices that outside there's a ruckus going outside the door there, so she opens it and finds, of course, Jackie and Kelso making out. So she just tells him, go get the paper.
So we go to the cutaway, and it's of Dorothy Hamill, who is a championship figure skater who was the world champion in 1976 and also won a gold medal in the 1976 Olympics. So we cut back to the kitchen where Kitty mentions that the chicken will be done soon. And of course, Grandma has something to say about that. She always does. And then at that point, I thought it was the part, I was hoping it was the part I remembered. She takes the drag off that cigarette and it just goes forever. And you see her just inhale almost this entire cigarette.
It's intense.
And Kitty's just sitting there, just longingly looking at it like a long lost lover. Just,
hello. Oh. It's me you're looking for.
All right, so Eric brings up church and how the pastor was talking about forgiveness. And Grandma, of course, mentions again, has to mention something, that some people aren't worth forgiving.
Ow, my kidneys.
At that point, she starts going into another spiel about chastising Kitty, and Eric kind of swoops her up and says, hey, Grandma, let's go into the living room and rub your feet.
The nightmare begins.
Yeah. And she starts talking about how skinny he is, and that he should move in with her, and she'll fatten him up. And he's like, oh, gives that little horrified laugh.
He's like, no.
I remember rattling the evil old witch. I know what goes on.
I've seen your oven woman.
So they walk into the living room, and this is one of the few times you actually see a horrified look on Red's face, just one of true panic, as he jumps up in the middle of watching the Packers game and just, I've got to go fix, and I think he grabs a bunch of glass grapes off the table and he says, this, and it just runs off. At that point, they sit down and Fez is about to go home when Eric goes, oh, Fez, you haven't met Grandma. And she's got her feet on the table because Eric was going to rub them. And we found our Tarantino. Fez's people worship feet. And he says these are a glorious pair and just almost reverently asks to rub them. Knock yourself out.
No. I don't worship the feet. Okay? Just FYI, I don't. He might.
You need to calm down. You're from Florida. How foreign do you think you are?
Oh, little Tarantino. So we cut to the garage where we find Eric walking in to Red, cowering beneath the noise of himself dropping the hammer on some paint cans, hoping that maybe if somebody sees him, they'll think he's too busy to do anything. Eric comes out and says, Dad, you have to come back in, to which Red says, look, I love my mom, but I just can't see her or be around her too long. And I think everybody gets kind of that feeling once in a while, right? There's some family member you got where you're just like, man, I love you, but you gotta just not call me for a couple months, cousin. You got way too many weird things you gotta say. Eric mentions the horrors of the foot family fungus, and Red says, you gotta play through the pain, son, and sends him away.
What a Jake. Red has no sympathy for anything.
No, not at all.
Not even a
Particularly
little.
not him. He's gotta like be the meanest there.
So what? You have to touch Grandma's feet? Big whoop. Get in the house. Cut back to the basement where Hyde's dictating his, I'm sure, conspiracy theory-filled paper to Donna, who, upon being asked to read back, she goes, wah, 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 the classic Peanuts adult sounds. Hyde gets annoyed that Donna just wants to vomit up facts from an encyclopedia, but Kitty then comes down to look for Eric and then tells Donna to come to dinner because she needs all the help she can get and as many people between her and Grandma as possible. She tells Hyde to stay in the basement though because Grandma doesn't like you. After wondering what he's gonna eat, Kitty tells him to hit the deep freeze and then he decides the dryer is as good as a cooker as any.
We finally moved to the dining room where the Formans are having a wonderful family dinner, except for, of course, Grandma. She complains that she's lactose intolerant, which then Donna mentions, well, Grandma, if you're lactose intolerant, you shouldn't be putting cream in your coffee.
So, how many of those people do you know that are just suddenly allergic to something or suddenly a part of something just because they want to be and they want everything their way?
Which, of course, kind of racks Grandma's nerves. So, before stating that, you know, she likes Fez better than everybody else, she kind of just goes off the wall a little bit. Fez reciprocates this before Red decides, you know what, I'm going to hurry up and eat through my dinner, power eat, so I can get the heck out of here and get back to acting like I was doing something.
You've got to fix those cans, man.
Run away!
Go! Kitty and Donna soon follow right before Grandma decides, you know what, I think I want to get my feet rubbed a little bit more by the foreign guy.
10 points for the foreign guy.
So they go watch Lawrence Welk.
Exciting stuff. Have you seen Lawrence Welk? That's just...
Heart pounding.
It is. Thrill a second. All right, so we cut back to the basement where Hyde is enjoying his tasty dryer fries and working on the paper. Well, soon after, Jackie and Kelso stumble into the basement and Kelso goes, yeah, we were looking for the paper and some stuff happened. Of course, it's commented on that his shirt's inside out. He goes, yeah, that was the stuff.
You know, the stuff where the shirt's inside out just randomly.
The stuff.
That was very Dr. Evil of you.
The white stuff.
But we actually find out that Jackie's paper was not about the branches of government, but in fact about the 4 food groups.
Well, there's branches, eh?
And back then, the 4 food groups only consisted of, what was it? Milk, meat, fruit and veggies, and breads and cereals with no guide on how much should actually be eaten. That's safe. Yeah, here, eat all these. Just, yeah.
Moderate.
Yeah. That's what Americans are known for, is moderation.
And that's why I have diabetes.
Diabetes.
I love the 80s. Wilford Brimley, diabetes. After they realized that Jackie was going to be useless, Donna gives her blessing on the breakup and then proceeds to go get the World Book Encyclopedia from her house. Now, the World Book Encyclopedia was first printed in 1917 and consists of 27 issues, or not issues, books. It's a really big, bulky, heavy thing that... It was huge. Oh, it was. Have you ever seen somebody set up with a World Book or something like that? Has been published annually since 1925.
I have spent so much of my youth reading encyclopedias and just learning stuff about the world because there was no internet. There wasn't like, hey Google. How many phones turned on? Everyone, put your phone up to the device. Say, hey Google, and see if it comes on. Yeah.
I just want to meet the person in 2021 that has enough shelf space to carry a set of encyclopedias. Because I'm sure they only get bigger and stupider as time goes on. Have you seen the way culture has changed?
Like Ripley's Believe It or Not books just kept getting bigger. There's more and more nonsense.
Nonsense that classifies as a world record now.
Kelso gets mad saying he's tired of everybody trying to break him and Jackie up before he removes his shirt, and it's pointed out that Jackie hoovered his chest. Not J. Edgar, mind you, but Dust Devil style.
No, she J. Edgar's it later.
Oh, he gets that Edgar all over it. Eric expresses his frustration with their lack of ability to get anything done, especially the paper that's so important. And when Donna arrives to say, I've got nothing because all the useful editions were already sold, Kitty comes down in a full-blown panic attack and says, somebody give me a cigarette. And they're like, what? Nobody smokes. And she points out, 1 in 5 teenagers smoke. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Give it to me. And then asking for a light, she gets one from everybody. And then it's, of course, Hyde who gives up the cigarette. Look at the shirt and, you know, everything about the way they reach.
But you wouldn't expect Hyde to smoke lights, because I think that was a light 100 he got handed.
So Red comes down right after looking for a non-existent cat. Kitty scurries off, which, you know, she's probably the cat he was looking for at the end of the day. And he sits down and turns on the Packers game. It's time to go.
Cut to the driveway where the family's finally seeing Grandma off after what I'm sure was a day that felt like a week. She's drastically improved mood after apparently getting her mood improved, because I can't think of a cleaner way to say it.
The touchdown.
By Fez,
Touchdown, yeah.
She got rubbed out.
That's what I called it a week.
That's what I put on the thing, wasn't it? She's in her improved mood after getting her angry, ornery attitude rubbed out by Fez.
You're welcome.
Pretty much everything that she was bashing and even talking about earlier, like her lactose allergy. Oh, Kitty, I love your raw rotten potatoes. Oh, Red, your car is so cute.
Everything's the best.
Oh,
You know something had to have happened.
a little rub goes a long way, people.
A long way. We cut back to the basement where Eric is finally getting a chance to finish his homework when Kitty comes down to finally have her cigarette. They share a brief moment. Kitty thanks Eric for helping her out during the day, and which Eric then turns and says, why does Grandma hate you so much, Mom? And she says it's because Red did not marry the woman that she actually liked, but married her instead. I don't know if I said that in a way you guys can make sense, but who cares?
Ain't nobody understand the words that are coming out of your mouth.
Nobody understands the words that comes out of my mouth. She's resented her ever since. And after hearing this, Eric just sits there and pauses for a second, and all he could reply was, that bitch! Causing Kitty to laugh really hard.
All right, so it's Grandma and Fez sitting there through the credits as they're watching Norma Zimmer, the Champagne Lady, as well as Bobby and Sissy, who were regulars on the Lawrence Welk Show. Now, the Lawrence Welk Show was a American variety show hosted by the Big Band Leader.
Yeah.
All right, ran from 1951 to 1971. And the show is recognized by its opening involving bubbles and its theme, Bubbles in the Wine, which was well known to viewers at the time. Welk was known to dance with audience members from time to time, and audience members could dance in the ballroom during most numbers. These numbers were performed by his band, The Musical Family, made up of Zimmer, Bobby, Sissy, and others.
She proceeds to call Sissy a slut. Fez laughs about the bubbles, and the curtain closes. And that's the end of this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves, because I know I did. Every time with this gaggle of rejects is a good time. I hope that you guys show up next time, because we'll have something new for you. Unfortunately, this is going to be the last one of these episodes that our dear friend Kevin's going to be in. He is moving away. And with a heavy heart, we do bid him adieu, and we had to force him to at least one more.
It ain't the last one. It's just until we get Zoom figured out. Give us a break.
Which, by the way, has anyone ever noticed Kevin's the foreigner?
I'm the foreigner?
Brown. White.
We don't think about color here, Santi.
Color is not...
You are a bitch.
Well, it's been a great time. I'm the Fox, and I'll catch you next time.
I'm Cord Brown Privilege Uloa.
I'm Santi.
I'm Kevin.
The white Fez.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget White Fez.
That's right, boy.
Remember, guys, color only matters if you let it. Let's all be like this more. Keep it real.